Hi, so I wanted to start filming weekly videos as I kind of start to heal from my herniated disc journey. Over the last 6 months, I've been on an absolute roller coaster in so much pain, and I'm finally kind of starting to get to the other side. When I was at kind of my worst points, I really came to YouTube and watched so many videos to see what other people's experiences were. And so I wanted to kind of do the same for myself, to be a little bit introspective and document this journey, and hopefully this can kind of help someone else out, maybe with a similar mindset or a similar injury, because this injury absolutely sucks. To jump to the end, I officially got surgery about a week ago, and so I'll be kind of filming surgery recovery videos as well, but I wanted to take this video specifically to kind of talk about what led me to surgery in the last 6 months. About 6 months ago, I woke up just like one day and I felt so much pain down, kind of down my hip and down my hamstring. I thought I had like pulled my IT band, or I pulled a hamstring, or I pulled my hip, which I know is a bone, but that's just truly what it felt like. And that was the most similar experience I had because I pulled my hamstring a few times before. And it sucks, and I know it takes forever to heal. So the fact that this wasn't healing, in a couple of days, I was like, oh, I just pulled something. So I kind of just worked through it. I stretched, I did yoga, I did whatever. And then it started getting a lot worse, where it was getting into my calf. I was starting to lose feeling in my foot. The pain was only getting worse, even though I was doing all these things that I normally do to kind of heal a pulled muscle. And then I eventually saw a doctor and got an MRI and learned that I had 2 herniations in my L4, L5, and then a really bad herniation in my L5S1. In addition to that, I also found out I had a torn meniscus, which did not surprise me. I've torn it multiple times before and I've never gotten surgery. But this time it revealed that my meniscus was no longer in my knee, and so they needed to get it out. I also had cysts in my knee, which was really fun. So I had to go kind of coordinate between the 2 doctors what surgery I was gonna get, because I knew I had to get that meniscus surgery. But when I spoke to the spine specialist, she was like, let's take a more conservative approach. At that time, I was still able to walk, I was still able to sit. I just felt like a tight muscle kind of that would eventually flare up here and there. And so I decided to go forth and get my meniscus surgery like a couple months later. And that eventually, I think, was like the start of really the downfall of my herniated disc. Like at that time, it was bad. Like it was deemed severe, but my symptoms weren't that bad. At the time, I got my knee surgery, and so when you get knee surgery, you can't do anything. So I just sat around all day, and I did what are called leg lifts to heal. And so essentially, you're sitting, these are your legs over here, and you just like lift your legs up and down, which are awful for your back. And I remember doing them and just like immediately I was like in so much pain. And then my back kept getting worse for obvious reasons, but I didn't connect 1 and 1 together, or 2 and 2 together. And so I was like, I'm gonna try something else. I'm gonna go to the chiropractor. And also prior to this, I had tried physical therapy as well and wasn't very successful. So I started going to the chiropractor then, and kind of just, again, progressively was getting worse and worse and worse as I was rehabbing my knee and focusing on rehab for my knee. When I spoke to the spine doctor the first time, she was just kind of like, stay active, keep walking, don't change your lifestyle too much, since I was still able to walk and things like that. I was doing really stupid stuff though before my injury. Like I was still squatting, I was still deadlifting, I was still doing things I very much shouldn't have. But then after my knee surgery, I absolutely stopped all of that. The next month, I just was going to the chiropractor. I was doing knee rehab exercises. I was walking, I was biking at the gym. I was just trying to stay active, like she said, trying to do anything I could with my knee, not being able to like do as much as I used to before. However, my knee was healing really great, but my back was getting so much worse and worse and worse. And then eventually I had my follow-up appointment for my back and my knee. My knee was good, like moved on from that. But when I saw my spine doctor next, I actually saw the physician's assistant. She honestly, like, I've never felt so bad coming out of a doctor. I think I've had really good luck having like just not condescending doctors. And she was kind of I was talking to her about like, I go to the gym, I lift weights, I like, bodybuilding exercises, weightlifting, Olympic lifting, things like that. And she essentially told me like, I never should have been doing them in the first place. I'll never do them again in my life. My life will never be the same. I should never lift more than half my body weight, which is kind of ridiculous because I was lifting twice my body weight. And once I told her that, I thought she was gonna like collapse in her chair. So she clearly hadn't seen a patient that was, I wouldn't call myself an athlete, but like someone that actually worked out and kind of pushed their body a little bit more, I think, than the average person, which is really discouraging. When it kind of became clear we didn't see eye to eye, she was just like, okay, I'll recommend you some pain medication, because I told her like my pain was getting a lot worse. And I honestly, in that moment, if she had told me, hey, stop for 6 months, like you need your body to heal for 6 months, I probably would have listened. The fact that she said for the rest of my life I should never do this again, I just felt awful. You know, working out is something I love so much. It's so good for not only my body, but my brain. It's helped me get through so many things that I was just like, how can I ever like live without this? And so I really, really struggled just hearing that, because I've played sports since I was like a kid, since I was 3. And it sucks. So I left that appointment crying, feeling absolutely awful, and super defeated. And my symptoms continued to get worse, which was great. Not really, but I started taking the pain medication thinking like maybe, my body just needs kind of like that kick to calm down. And like, I don't know, I had all this like mental gymnastics I went through to like explain my need to do things, and it was okay. Like the pain medication never like solved any of my problems, but at least like took a bit of the edge off, and at least gave me like some tool to kind of start to manage things, help me sleep a little bit better. But at the time, my sleep wasn't that bad. It was more sitting. If I sat too long, I would get severe sciatic pain, which just sucked. Working out was kind of hard. Actually, working out at the time was kind of the only thing that my body felt good doing. So I kind of worked out more during that time, which was probably not good either. But since I was warm and since I was moving, I was like, oh, finally, this is like a time I'm pain-free. And so I kept doing that. But then the second I came home and like sat down, because I work at my desk from home all day, I would just feel awful. So just the balance between all of it was really, really bad. And then after that, I look back and I'm like, I was so dumb to do this, but I had a trip planned. And that trip it was an amazing trip, but I was in so much pain that whole trip. The flight there destroyed me. There's a lot of sitting when you're traveling, whether you're, on a boat or in a car or anything like that, and the seats were not comfortable. And I was in so much pain. I was taking like the maximum amount of pain medication that whole trip just to get through, and try not to like make other people worry about me that whole trip, because we had all spent all this money to go there. I didn't want to like bring anyone else down. And so I got through it, and it was still fun. I'm still glad. It's hard to say I'm glad I did it, because it definitely like destroyed my back so much. And then the flight back was just horrid. Once I landed and got up and walked around, I was kind of okay. But then the day after, I never was the same again. I could barely stand. I was in so much pain. If I wasn't walking, I was like stomach on the ground or back on the ground, just like crying in pain because of how bad the sciatica was. And then a little over a week after I got home, I got COVID. And there was one day I was coughing and I bent over and I just felt something go, and I was like on the ground in the bathroom, just crying in pain. And after that moment, just every day was awful, to be honest. It sounds so dramatic as I say it, and I feel like unless you have this energy, you don't understand the pain. My mental health was awful. Like, I went from going to the gym 6 days a week to barely even being able to walk to the bathroom, and I was just so defeated. I felt like nothing could help me. I didn't want to go back to that spine doctor because of like how she made me feel, so I just felt so stuck, because she was also like the best rated doctor in the area. And so I just felt so stuck. But in the moment, I was incredibly grateful for my boyfriend for pushing me to find a new doctor, because also I was trying to find other doctors closer to me, but their waits were like 3 months. It was ridiculous to get in. Like, I was just like, I can't live with this for 3 months. Like, I really was just not in a good mental space. And so he had known someone that had had the same injury and eventually got surgery, who recommended a doctor, and I was like magically able to get in like 2 weeks. And so I went to see that doctor. He was a physiatrist, because I still was really afraid of surgery at the time. Everyone always said like, avoid surgery, back surgery is the worst, don't get it, which probably, yes, avoid surgery as much as you can, but I will say like it has so far been a good experience for me, and I'm very, very glad I made that decision and I didn't sit and suffer in pain, because my mental health was just as awful as one could be at that time. And so I got in and he recommended an epidural steroid injection. So I went and got that. I had to wait another week to get the epidural steroid injection. Like every day just feels so long, and like just another week, I was like, a whole nother week, I have to wait for this. But I did, because I had no other option. And honestly, like for where I live, at least, like that's a pretty quick turnaround to be able to get something like that. So I was really, really grateful. So I ended up going in, getting the epidural steroid injection. I was actually really scared. I hate needles. But honestly, it wasn't that bad. I think you're just in so much pain going in that you're like, I'll try anything. It was kind of a weird experience too, because I don't know why I thought I'd just go into his office and he'd give me a little shot, but like it's an actual procedure. Like I went to a surgery center, I was in a like bed, they like rolled me into an operating room, and I just was not expecting any of that, which is maybe for the best, or else I would have maybe freaked out more going in. But they gave me like 4 shots of numbing, and then they gave me 2 injections in one time. But it really was not that bad. It just like, I felt it kind of hit the space and like felt something down my leg, but the pain wasn't that bad at all, especially because they numb you. And then after that, I was able to go home and it was fine. And then I waited, you have to wait 2 weeks to see if it worked. They say apparently it works for 80% of people, and I was one of those lucky 20% that it did not work for. My head just went like down again, all the bad past of I'm just gonna be in pain forever, like my body can't heal, I'm not good enough, all these great thoughts to have, which I'm sure, again, if you've gone through this injury, you know it's like not only a physical injury, but such a mental injury of what you kind of have to go through. From, I'm someone that like, I'm so independent, I'm so used to just being able to do anything and fight through the pain, and I couldn't do anything anymore, and it was awful. It was so awful. But it also just made me so grateful at the time for the support system I had, and my boyfriend, and everyone just around me that was really helping out. It was like the one great thing that came out of it. But anyway, I waited the 2 weeks and I had my follow-up appointment with my doctor that did the injection. And like, to my surprise, I was so happy. He said this, like, if it didn't work, let's get you into surgery. He recommended me to another doctor who was really, really highly recommended in the same kind of medical network that I was at. And I feel like I was so worried. I'm like, it's gonna take forever to see him because he's so highly regarded. But because my like steroid injection doctor, the physiatrist, he like marked everything as urgent. He like made sure I was able to kind of get through and like get everything I needed so quickly. I saw him on Monday. I was able to get an updated MRI on Tuesday and then see the neurosurgeon on Thursday. And like, it was just amazing how fast that was. And now that I've made my follow-up appointments with my neurosurgeon, he's like booked out. He's also booked out 2 to 3 months as well. So how that all came together, I was just so grateful, because the surgeon actually came back after his surgery day to do my appointment. It's not a normal day he works. So I was just so grateful. Now we're at the next appointment with the neurosurgeon. He was so kind. Like, I think I read, everyone reads all the forums and stuff, and people say how awful their doctors are. Like, he spent, I think, over an hour talking to us and explaining the injury. He was kind of soft-spoken, which like, I think was kind of endearing. Like, he was just so kind and compassionate. He still was like very straightforward and to the point, but like never in a condescending way, and always in a way to explain things carefully, so I understood them and understood everything that was happening. And so as you read all these stories that like there's awful doctors, like I say this because like there are good doctors out there. Like, I was really lucky to finally get to that good doctor and kind of like in a way, advocate for myself. Like, I knew that previous doctor was not a right personality or lifestyle fit for me. And so going to this new doctor, he even is like, yeah, you'll be able to do everything you could do before. His thing is like, you're gonna have to warm up more and like be a lot more conscious of your movements. But besides that, like, you can live the life you wanna live. And I was just like, finally, this is like all I wanted to hear. So what was incredible is if he wasn't on vacation the following week, I could have gotten surgery that next week. Like, it just, everything was able to move so quickly, but because he was on vacation, which everyone should take a vacation, I'm not mad about at all, he was out the following week, or I had my surgery the following week. So yeah, that was kind of my journey to the surgery. I mean, waiting, again, continued to be awful. I could barely stand. I could barely go to the bathroom at that time. I have a dog. I couldn't do anything for her. I couldn't bend. I mean, now after the surgery, they say don't bend, lift, or twist. I was like, I couldn't do that before. So the transition to that wasn't that hard. I really tried every single thing possible. Oh yeah, at some point I tried acupuncture. I did absolutely nothing. I did like 6 sessions over 6 weeks. Again, it did nothing, which was a real disappointment because I'd heard wonders about it, but it again did nothing for me. I think earlier on, what I wish I had was a doctor that I eventually ended up with that really could see my whole lifestyle and see my whole like trajectory for what I want and how I live and tell me how to modify things. But unfortunately, I found him later on in the journey. But I wish I kind of had someone early on really with me, supporting me, caring for me in the beginning, which unfortunately I just didn't get. And that just happens. And so I think the big takeaway is like, if something doesn't like feel right, go to the doctor a lot sooner. And I think, to be honest, like looking back, it's so much easier for me to say now than when I was on the ground in pain. I really needed to hit that rock bottom to make a change in my life because my back had been so bad for almost the last 15 years. I don't think I ever would have changed until it's like something really bad would have happened, or I was a lot older and like it would be a lot harder to heal, or maybe I had more responsibilities in my life. So as awful as it was, I was kind of glad it happened. I talked to some coworkers that also had the same injury, and they all said like, you come out of it so much wiser, and I kind of really hope that for that. I see it happening, and I think what's good and bad about it is you do have to make lifestyle changes, but those lifestyle changes are in general good for you. You know, you should maintain a healthy weight, walk a lot more, sit a lot less. Like, those are just good things that we should all be doing anyway, that unfortunately the corporate workforce has limited us in the being able to do. That's kind of everything I had leading up to surgery. And again, I'm about a week out. I'll do a video on that shortly too. And I'm really, really, really happy I got the surgery. I'm walking. Yeah, I mean, that's it. I'm walking. I'm pretty much pain-free. I mean, the incision's like a thing. Your nerve takes time to heal, but in general, I'm feeling a lot better. Feel free in the comments if you have any questions. Please post them, and then hopefully you like and subscribe to continue to follow my road to recovery, however long that takes. I do plan on being able to go back to the gym fully, live fully, maybe do a competition, but we'll see if I ever get there. But I'm in no rush. I just want to heal properly and never have to go through this ever again. So, thanks for watching.